Good day. This is Russell Hawley coming to you from the Tate Geological Museum at Casper College in Wyoming. And today I'd like to tell you a little bit about the teeth of mammoths, mastodons, and elephants. So we'll start with the tooth of a modern Asian elephant. An Asian elephant only has 4 molar teeth, but each one is quite large, and the crown is made out of ridges of enamel running across the tooth transversely. And when the elephant closes its mouth, these teeth come up and they close against the upper teeth and then move backwards relative to the upper teeth in a shearing motion. So whatever's caught in between those 2 corrugated surfaces of enamel ridges is really well pulverized. And that's a good type of tooth to have if you've got a diet of grass, which the elephant does. The modern elephant's diet is about 90% grass, and the rest of it is leaves and fruits and things like that. But it's primarily a grass eater, and this is the kind of tooth to do it. Now, the Columbian mammoth had a tooth that looks almost exactly like a modern Asian elephant tooth, except on a rather larger scale. Once again, it's very large, almost the size of a human head in many cases, and it's got those same ridges of enamel running across the crown of that tooth. Not quite as many as in a woolly mammoth, but more than there are in an Asian elephant. So many ridges packed close together. And that brings us to our next tooth, the woolly mammoth tooth, which is right here. So there's the root of the tooth, here's the crown, and then look at all of those ridges. This is a trend you see in the evolution of the elephant family. They start out with relatively few ridges, relatively far apart, and then as their evolution progresses, there's a trend towards getting more and more ridges, and for the ridges to become thinner, and for them to become pressed more closely together. Now this is funny because the scientific name of the woolly mammoth is Mammothus primigenius. Primigenius means the original and implies that it's primitive. In reality, this is the most advanced member of the elephant family. It's just the fact that it's extinct that gives anybody the idea that it's old-fashioned. Now, this is the tooth of the other kind of elephant that we've got in the world today, the African elephant. And it goes by the scientific name of Loxodonta africana. And Loxodonta means zigzag tooth, and you can see why. Instead of having straight-sided parallel ridges running down the crown, instead the diamond-shaped lamellae on this tooth make it look like the enamel ridges are zigzagging their way down the crown of the tooth. So that's why it's called Loxodonta africana. And this is actually more primitive than the tooth of either a mammoth or of an Asian elephant. Now, one of the most frequent questions I get is, what's the difference between a mammoth and a mastodon? And the most obvious differences are to be found in the structure of their teeth. This is the crown of a mastodon tooth. It would have had roots coming down underneath it, but this is a cast just of the crown there, the business end of the tooth, if you will. And instead of having flat-topped grinding teeth, the mastodon instead has these bumpy teeth. So this isn't for grinding up grass, rather this is for mashing up leaves off of bushes and trees. So while the mammoths were living in places like Wyoming, living on grass, to make a living, the mastodons would have been back east where the forests were, and they would have been living in forests and browsing on bushes and trees.